That time has finally arrived for Penn State wrestling to do some calling instead of some dodging. This is the biggest series in the country that everybody wants to see. And unfortunately, this historic Iowa rivalry just got shoved into the dark corners of a closet for the foreseeable future.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are we feeling, our Big 12 brethren? Shout out to the regulators. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by to make this your first listen. We're available on all of your podcasting platforms, visually as well on YouTube. Find me personally on X at AllDayO State. Today, we're partially brought to you by Mazda, who puts the same drive into every single detail. Wins define the moment. Putting in the work, though, that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward moments. There's more to Mazda, just like there's more to you. There's more to wrestling than what we saw out of Oklahoma State versus Iowa. Yes, I know they were down a couple dudes, and we didn't get an opportunity at revenge against Angelo Ferrari. So there's still some things to sort out. And they beat us to begin the season. Cool. They lost one of their biggest wrestlers and had to dismiss him from the team. I get it. It stinks. They're not in a great spot. But when you look at the future of wrestling, it clearly looks like it's going to be Oklahoma State and Penn State. I know Ohio State is pretty good. Iowa State's pretty good. Virginia Tech's going to be pretty good. Nebraska's pretty good. Iowa's pretty good. But the pretty good is not good enough to compete with Oklahoma State. And we're not quite to the Penn State level. I get that. But at the same point in time, this disillusionment that Cael Sanderson has about participating in the Natty duels, it almost seems like he's very well aware that David Taylor and Oklahoma State are catching up, and they don't want to have that potential black eye of losing to Oklahoma State in a home-and-home series, even though this is what everybody in the country wants to see, right? If you're a wrestling fan, and thankfully, the sport of wrestling has grown in popularity. It's grown in marketability. This RAF stuff is absolutely phenomenal. But it's not just about what Wyatt Hendrickson did for Oklahoma State. It's about what David Taylor is bringing moving forward. And I don't think Penn State wants any part of it. I think they know they're probably going to win the Natty this year by a fairly comfortable margin. But I think they also know 2027, they still probably have the edge, but it's not going to be by very much. 2028, that's when things could potentially change. We'll save some of that for segment 2. Right now, this needs to happen. Whether it's David Taylor calling Penn State, Chad Weiberg, whomever, this needs to be a thing. Not only does it need to be a thing, but as the sport of wrestling is growing, this is the best opportunity of all time to continue that growth. The biggest wrestling attended duel of all time was Oklahoma State versus Iowa in Kinnick Stadium, in their football stadium. Almost 43,000 people watched an epic duel between Oklahoma State and Iowa. That should be happening now with Oklahoma State and Penn State. Whether it be in Beaver Stadium, and heck, they've got an indoor arena that seats like 16,000. That's fine too. But I think all of us would agree that you could get 60,000 in that football stadium to watch this epic matchup that everybody's waiting for. It only feels like it's a matter of time that this is an inevitability. Like, again, I do understand some of the argument behind why they don't want to participate in the national duels, and it supposedly doesn't do anything for them, and it supposedly, could put themselves in a precarious position with wrestle-offs. I get it, whatever. But can we call a spade a spade? Penn State does not want this smoke, which is insane to me, because this year and next year, probably their best opportunities to still hold that edge over everybody else in the country. This Iowa-Oklahoma State tradition has been phenomenal. But it's time that we start building this thing with Penn State. And let's be fair, up until David Taylor, the last 5-6 years of John Smith, we weren't really in a position to be ultra competitive. So a duel with Oklahoma State, Penn State in a football stadium or 16,000 seat basketball arena, it didn't make a lot of sense there for a little bit of time. It makes the most amount of sense right now. And to me, this is a failure on all parties by not finding a way to continue this epic, meteoric rise of popularity in wrestling nationally. This is what everybody wants to see. And I would assume that David Taylor absolutely wants this to happen. I know David Taylor would absolutely like Penn State to show up to the Natty duels so we can have this opportunity. And another thing that it does is set up storylines for the national championships, just like this Iowa scenario. They beat us earlier in the season. We changed wrestlers. Half of the lineup is new from the first time we wrestled them, and we absolutely dog walked them. That just proves that if you have something early in the season, it brings up more storylines, which is precisely why the Cowboys had almost 12,700 in Gallagher-Iba for this ridiculousness. And thankfully, David Taylor said, I've been all over the country, I've wrestled all over the world. I've never seen, heard, or felt anything like this, which, that's kind of crazy to say because he was at the place that has kind of taken over for the top-notch wrestling program in the country that used to be Oklahoma State. It has been Penn State for the better part of the last, 13, 15-ish years. I know Iowa poked in there a couple times, won a couple natties, but this is what everybody wants to see. And at national championships, you might get some individual matchups that are absolutely remarkable. But this is about the duel. This is about not running from competition. This is about embracing your fears and seeing how it all shakes out. Would we all not love to see what Zach Ryder could do against the Penn State, Alex Facundo? I mean, those storylines write themselves. The fact that it is clearly coming down to Oklahoma State, Penn State are the future of wrestling. I know Nebraska is trying to heavily invest. Virginia Tech's going to probably make some things happen with Bissett and Miller. Iowa's going to be lurking in the background 24/7 because they are a phenomenal program. But it's Penn State, O-State. It's the former Nittany Lion taking over the former King of Wrestling College that are just bound and determined to have this head-to-head matchup. So I don't know what needs to happen for Oklahoma State, Penn State to be a thing, a home-and-home series. But this wonderful deal that we've been doing with Iowa for years and years and years and years, respectfully, doesn't it kind of feel like that should now shift to Penn State? Oklahoma State, Iowa, for all of the pageantry and phenomenal moments that it's provided, Oklahoma State, Penn State is kind of that new thing. This duel kind of felt like a passing of the guard. And again, I know they had to dismiss some people. I know they've had a couple injuries. I know we didn't get to see Angelo Ferrari. I get all that. But even if you take all that in consideration, with Jax Forrest dominating, Sergio Vega dominating, Landon Robidoux was pretty dominant, Cody Merrill was dominant. To see all that take place, it gives you a lot of hope. And if you're a Penn State fan, they pride themselves on being the king of wrestling. Well, now you've got somebody to deal with. And it kind of feels like you're doing everything you can to avoid them until the national title, because you have an advantage, at least now, in that area. But that advantage is starting to fall apart. So they need to start making some calls or answering some phone calls, and we need to make this thing happen. Love Iowa. But Penn State's the new do. And this is the new matchup everybody needs to see. It is time for you to hire the right way, and Indeed is going to relieve a lot of the stress that comes with the hiring process. You understand the workplace chaos, right? Deadlines stacking up, your inbox is overflowing, but that one position that you really need to get filled, it's still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need to hire the right individual, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for, the skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping for the right candidate to stumble upon a post. You're banking on the fact that you're going to get the right individual. And here's a fun stat that says all of it. In the time that we've been talking, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you are hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all of the boxes. It's less stress, less time spent with more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status that it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Go there right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this program. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. But if you need to hire, that's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs right now. So now we get to start talking about the national championship that will most likely come back to Oklahoma State where it belongs at some point in time. This season kind of feels like a foregone conclusion. They have a lot of heavy hitters returning from that record-breaking team last season. May it be a little bit closer? It's possible, but it's likely they're still going to have a convincing lead this season. Next season, they have a decent number of guys coming back. Matter of fact, we should probably chop it up with Zach Sako about some of this stuff here before too long. But anywho, it does appear as though the 2027 national championships will be closer, much closer than they've been in quite some time. Next season is probably going to be the first time in quite a while that Penn State actually has somebody nipping on their heels that they're actually a little bit concerned about, and that is Oklahoma State. You look at what this freshman class is doing. D. Lockett lost his first match of the season, which is surprising. But it does kind of feel like he was putting a lot of eggs into the third period, being magical the last couple matches. Sometimes you need something like this to wake you back up. He responded well in the post-game interview that he's ready to respond. And this is a teachable learning moment. But up until Mikey Caliendo, he's been pretty dominant. And he does have a dub over Mikey Caliendo to begin the season. So shout out to Mikey, being a national title contender type of dude, for having a good game plan and preventing D. Lockett from doing what he does to get comfortable. But nobody could stop Jax Forrest. Nobody could stop Sergio Vega. Troy Spratley, right, had a very, very good performance. Seeing Cody Merrill, our own Kung Fu Panda, do what he's doing, and he's starting to define his muscles a little bit more. He's not just a big dude. He's starting to turn into a wrestler that can get bonus points, that can get pins, that can make some magic happen. And that's what we've been missing, right? We knew Troy Spratley could score points, and Jax Forrest, and even Ronnie Ramirez. We knew those guys could score points and do some crazy things. And then Sergio Vega has his emergence, and Landon Robidoux has his emergence. The young cats are guiding this team. We'll call a spade a spade. You would assume next season that Alex Facundo is back, Zach Ryder is back. You get all these young cats back, and then you get the number one recruiting class in the country coming in next season. Right? So much so that Jax Forrest canceled the rest of his high school career to cancel his red shirt because he has a chance at winning a national title. And then right behind him, the number one signee in the class, you have number 4, Drayshawn Ross, who could also play football at Oklahoma State legitimately. You have number 5 in America, Jordan Rainey, his brother, number 6 in America, Jaden Rainey. You also got to talk about Rockland Zinkin. Like, this is a dude who's going to give Troy Spratley a run for his money. And then Mikey White out of Indiana might be the biggest potential dude of this class next to Jax Forrest. Jax Forrest is already like a once-in-a-generational kind of guy. Mikey White just started wrestling. Mikey White is a tried and true Division I Power 4 starting athlete that just picked up wrestling, that just started figuring out. His technique is probably not even close to where it's going to be 8 months from now. Like, Mikey White might have the biggest potential of all these dudes. And then you have Jake Hamity, brother Dean Hamity, the national champion, coming over from Illinois to wrestle for Stillwater High School this previous year to set himself up to be a Cowboy. You have these young guys that are clearly guiding this crew. And then you have guys coming in that might even be better or at least equally as talented. So again, 2027, will we have the talent to compete with Penn State? Yeah. Will we be young and probably get caught in some scenarios occasionally from some veteran? Yeah, that's probably going to happen. But 2028, ladies and gentlemen, maybe it's time to hammer the over on the 2028 recruiting class. Because not only does it feel like we're coming, not only does it feel like Penn State knows we're coming, and they're kind of trying to avoid head-to-head matchups other than where they have the advantages in the Natties. Yeah, they know it. They can feel it. 2028 is our year. I firmly believe that. Simply because these high school kids are coming in now more prepared than ever. And we're getting the best in the country. Somebody correct me down in the comments, but I thought I had seen originally when we were first talking about this stuff. I think Penn State has like the 5th ranked class in the country, 4th, 5th, something to that effect. Correct me down there in the comments if I'm incorrect. But yeah, I believe Virginia Tech obviously is going to be really close with their big signings. It's still not going to be enough. Nebraska could have every Ferrari, and I don't think it's going to be enough. Virginia Tech could get every family branch of Boba Fett and Melvin Miller. Still don't think it's going to be enough. And the biggest thing is I think they can see that. Right? Iowa's stressing. Virginia Tech is trying. Nebraska is attempting. Penn State is just kind of holding on for dear hope that they can get at least 2 more national titles in before Oklahoma State catches them. Maybe I'm crazy. Penn State fans, let me know. Am I insane? Do Penn State fans feel like they have this year, next year, and 2028 already wrapped up? Because for a while, you could say that, right? Before David Taylor was hired at Oklahoma State, you could basically say, yeah, we're going to probably win the next 4 or 5 natties. This is changing. And not only do we have the number 1 class coming in this next season to go alongside Jax Forrest and Sergio Vega and D. Lockett and Landon Robidoux, but the momentum is for Oklahoma State. Like, this is a place where recruits want to come. And that's another reason why I think Penn State might be dodging Oklahoma State, because they don't want the world to see. They don't want recruits to see that, yeah, Oklahoma State's there. Oklahoma State is the new Penn State. We're back to what we're supposed to be. And all of the recruits across the country can sense it. They can feel it. They can see it coming. So I think Oklahoma State wrestling brings another national title back to Gallagher-Iba in 2028 season. I just don't see how anybody can slow us down. Unless David Taylor ends up not coaching at Oklahoma State, I don't see how they catch us. Again, let me know down in the comment section. Am I crazy? Am I drinking too much Kool-Aid? Or does all of the writing seem to indicate that, yeah, next year they might still have an advantage because of the youth? But 2028, yeah, that's us. That's ours. Sorry, Nittany Lions. We got to talk about Mazda, right? You got to get out and feel the road, feel that exhilarating experience that Mazda can help provide by moving the game forward. For those who know that there's more to the score than what's simply just on the screen, they remind us of what it takes to raise the bar. It takes that extra work, that extra effort, dialing in all of the details, giving it that fine print, that extra fire, that grit, that never quit attitude. That encompasses everything that Mazda is rolling out nowadays, and they put that passion into every single model. Yeah, highlights make the reel, but what it takes to get there is what makes it all count. You already know there's more to Mazda, so get squared away today with Mazda, because there's also more to you. What got to make us the money, honey, with FanDuel, the bee's knees of all of your betting needs. If you've ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, FanDuel's giving that chance to you. It's going to be a dream turned into reality with the NBA sweepstakes. Well, here's how it all works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win NBA Finals trip for 2. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole shebang, the whole experience. And if you've already looked into who could potentially make a deep run, win the whole thing, it's a perfect time for you to lock that in. You're going to love the futures this time of year, especially whether it's picking a team to win it all or grab a conference title. It adds that extra layer of excitement because of your investment level. And now, not only can you pick cash, you can also get sent to the NBA Finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Gallagher-Iba does not have an attendance problem. Cowboy basketball has a problem getting the attendance to Gallagher-Iba. I have been so adamant that the Thunder and the NBA, it has some, maybe a little to do with the attendance drop-off, but not really. Like, there's no way anybody in the country can tell me that any wrestling event should outperform any basketball game. but it's happening constantly in Stillwater, Oklahoma. So it is frustrating. For years now, we've seen so many diehard Oklahoma State fans blame the Thunder and blame the NBA and blame our attendance drop off on that. And I've always said, I don't buy that. I don't think that is the reason that attendance has fallen off. And then you look at wrestling and you know that, yeah, that's actually factual. If Cowboy basketball was a top 10, top 15, top 20 team on a regular basis, it would probably look a lot like wrestling. Oklahoma State fans are starving for success. It's been a rough couple of years in football. It's been a rough 15 years pretty much in basketball. Yeah, we had some Marcus Smart and Cade Cunningham years mixed in there sporadically. But by and large, it's been a little bit of a struggle bus. Baseball is not performing at the standards that we're used to. Softball made us so spoiled for so long that their fall off is just, it feels worse than it is. But Gallagher-Iba still has teeth. Gallagher-Iba can still be a fog island like it used to be, and wrestling proves that. We're getting 12,600, 12,700, 12,100 in that building quite often for wrestling, which is not even in the same hemisphere of popularity as basketball. So I think we can dispel the myth that the reason attendance is bad is because of the Thunder. Okay, let's stop with that. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, it was either Bedlam or Iowa. There was Thunder games happening in Oklahoma City while we were having 12,500 or whatever inside Gallagher-Iba Arena. So again, Gallagher-Iba still has that emotion behind it, that passion that invokes a visceral feeling inside of you. As David Taylor said, maybe he was being slightly hyperbolic. I don't know. But we've heard that building get that way before. So when he says, I've never felt, heard, or saw anything like that in college wrestling, I tend to believe him. Basketball can do the exact same thing. I don't think that the Thunder have a massive bearing in the attendance. Does it matter? Yes. Does it have some effect? For sure. But let's just bury this myth that that's the reason our attendance is bad. Our attendance is bad is because we don't have a good product. And when we do show up, by and large, we fall flat. And this goes back to Travis Ford to some degree, Mike Boynton to some degree, but it's unfortunately even worse with Steve Lutz. You know what I mean? Like Mike Boynton at least would win these when number 1 or number 2 or number 3 KU would come to Gallagher-Iba, and we maybe have lost 5, 6 in a row. Mike Boynton would win that game somehow. And that's not happening with Steve Lutz. And that's been the biggest frustration. Even under Mike Boynton, occasionally he would have a massive win out of nowhere. But then when we would get 10, 11, 12,000 in the building, it was a loss. And then you'd have people like me hooting and hollering on TV or on a TV screen about how, you know, this used to be and how it needs to be and how it should be and this and that and the other. And sometimes it goes in one ear and out the other. But I can't recall percentage-wise, but probably over the last 15 years, 90% of the games where we did actually have 10,000 plus was a loss. It may even been 95%. And then that's the biggest problem, is when you do go from 4,000 people to 8,000, 9,000 people, you got to win the daggone game. And that's the only part that we're failing at. We are getting, occasionally we'll get a crowd, we'll get people fired up, and then we'll ruin all the momentum and take the sales out of the students that want to come to games. So Gallagher-Iba is fine. The fan base is fine. It's the product that's the problem. If the product produces like wrestling, this Thunder thing isn't going to mean a hill of beans. We can get 13K in that building if the product is worth it. And I kind of almost feel bad for Steve Lutz to some degree, because he seems to want that. And thankfully, Steve Lutz was courtside for this massive, epic Iowa wrestling duel. So I'm sure If he was sitting there was probably a few basketball players in the building as well. Hopefully they could all see that, feel that, and realize we can do the same thing, but we can do it bigger. We can do it better. We can get 13-5 in here, 13-2, whatever the new number is. We can do that because wrestling proved that you can do that. And as much as we love wrestling, we're diehard blue blood. Wrestling is in Oklahoma is a massive ordeal. I get that. But nationally, basketball is bigger. So when you have new students coming to campus, it's a lot easier to get them to go to a basketball game or a football game than any other sport. It's hard to get the student body to baseball games or softball games or tennis or equestrian or whatever, even women's basketball. We're pretty daggone good. JC protects that home court better than almost anybody else. And I don't think she gets enough love for it yet. This recent loss to West Virginia, that hurts. But it was on the road. JC takes care of Gallagher-Iba. So we should probably increase attendance for cowgirl basketball. But nonetheless, I'll go back to this fallacy that we've been hearing for years, that it's the Thunder's fault. It's not. It's not the Thunder's fault. Because the Thunder are playing the same time that we have 12,700 in Gallagher-Iba for wrestling. So I still believe in Steve Lutz. I honestly, this could be way wrong and way out of left field, but I feel like he invested in some dudes that don't put the team first, and he let them play so many minutes for so long that it almost became impossible to reel it back in. It kind of got a little bit out of control. Now, I could be way off base and have nothing anywhere near accurate in that statement, but that's what it feels like. Our bench is not super engaged. When we do hit massive shots, there's not a lot of excitement. Yeah, Victorious and Roy, they've never been on the same page. Like there's a night that one of them will go crazy, and then a night another one will go crazy, but we've never had a single night where both of them went crazy. It's just the team chemistry just seems off. And I understand that's sometimes a byproduct of going portal heavy, and that can be relegated a little bit by freshman class that are bought in a little bit more, right? Because they haven't been to 3 schools, 5 schools, whatever the case may be. This is their first spot. This is where they committed. This is where they signed. When you sign that dotted line, it invokes feelings. It does something to you. So perhaps this upcoming freshman class, mixed with some of these dudes like Ben Ahmed and Ryan Crotty, could, get Oklahoma State to a different level, or at least back to the level we used to be under the Sutton days. Gallagher-Iba can live and breathe just like we're seeing with wrestling. We just got to see a better product. Anywho, that's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere. So happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you liked it. Dislike if you didn't. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast and people out there. You're everything that makes this work, right? Without you, this would just be a hodgepodge mess of Cody's craziness. So I greatly appreciate you. I need you to go do what you do, though. Hit those stars. Leave some more reviews. All righty, y'all. Later, my taters.